I'm Scott, help people with AI. And when we think about selling AI, the way I really like to frame it when I talk to customers is with three types of knowledge. So we have world knowledge, that's in GPT. So Chat GPT has all of the world's knowledge through February. And I always tell people the G is general, right? So when you're asking a question on ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity, it's going to give you a general response, like the best average response. So what a lot of businesses want to do is to augment or focus that. So there's information that's not accessible, and that's increasingly valuable. If you think that I can get the same information as you from ChatGPT, like why would I, you know, why would you have an edge or a competitive advantage? And it's going to be with that professional knowledge, so stuff that's unique to you. So that might be, case studies, that might be financial data, might be past research you've done. Like you have information in your business or your clients do, and you can add that into the world knowledge to give a more specific and better answer. And then the third type of knowledge I think of as personal knowledge, which is how do you like to work or your client, right? So can we take this big bucket of world knowledge, add on to it professional specific knowledge for a business, and then add on to that the way that they want to get the answers based on the individual. So I think about that as a great way to frame AI and why would someone buy something from you versus just using ChatGPT? You can take something general, make it specific, and then tune the output to exactly how they want to work, the format, integrate it with other tools. That's often how I start AI conversations. And I like to think about AI and the reason that businesses should pay you to help them out as a geyser. And what I've found is that AI is not a top down sale, right? It's not the CIO or the CTO saying, here's how we're going to use AI. What works best is unlocking people's ideas within a company. So there's a lot of ideas in a company. People are using AI, whether the boss knows it or not, and often they don't know it. And what we need to do is help get those ideas up, right? So think about all these ideas as like the water underneath the ground, and you as the consultant or agency can find the best use cases and build them or help them improve them, and then share that to everybody. This has been a really like empowering approach that I've found because it allows you to get buy-in at the grassroots level, right? So it's their ideas and you're just helping them implement. And that's a good way to unlock the robots. I often say there's robots in hiding. So every company has these people with AI skills, and what you're doing is finding it and improving it. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about selling AI, selling Chipp. We'll go through some case studies and then look at what's next, which is changing chats into agents. As always, this will be recorded and shared, so you'll be able to go back if I go too fast, and hopefully you can share clips of this online. So when we talk about selling AI, we're going to hear some great examples as well. I think about selling it as, are you selling an internal AI tool or an external tool? I mean, it's internal to the company or external to their customers. And then are you selling something that's one-to-one or one-to-many? Meaning I'm going to build an AI tool for Scott, or I'm going to build an AI tool for my marketing department. I'm going to build an AI tool for a specific customer or student, or I'm going to build it for everyone who visits my website, right? So we can think about an internal tool as like a personal protege or executive assistant, helping me work faster. An internal tool for many people might be like a company search, so I can find all our HR documents, or maybe a marketing agent that can help us create marketing materials. An external one-to-one tool might be a personal tutor. So it's trained on how a specific student, what they're working on, or it's maybe trained on one client, right? And then an external tool for many is like a customer support chat on your website, maybe a tool they would use to review their brand guidelines, things like that. So think about when you're pitching Chipp or pitching AI, which bucket might this company need? What I found is it's usually easiest to start bottom left and work your way top right, because people are more sensitive putting information externally. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to, maybe they don't even want their customers to know they're using AI. Internally, there's a lot more forgiveness. And what I would think about is who's the champion that you could build an MVP, like a small version of in the bottom left to get their buy-in, and then move up so that you have a company using it. So you talk to the person who's AI curious and say, hey, I'll build you a personal protege and you can add stuff to it. If you like it, we could then build it out for the entire team. Right. So that's a good kind of what Rob will call land and expand that we'll talk about. And remember, when you're building those AIs, there's different ways to train it. And depending on your client or the person you're working with, you might have access to information or not. And so think about what you might be able to do. So I often say you can give a specific output, but like the chat's going to give that person exactly what they want. or it can be more creative. Like it'll come up with the answer that it thinks should be done. And you can train it by telling it or showing it. So telling it is in the instructions, right? Telling it in with text, and showing it is giving it examples, which might be knowledge or examples in the chat. So if you give an example of an output, you could say, here's an example of someone asking about pricing and an answer that I gave in an email. And so you should have an answer like that. If we want to be more specific, we could say, when someone asks about pricing, say this specifically, right? So you can control the output. And you can also allow it to be more creative and say, for example, if people are asking about pricing, here's our pricing page. It'll come up with the answer. Or you can say, our goal is to get people to book a meeting, and it'll talk about pricing however it wants, right? So as you're starting these initial MVPs or proof of concepts or selling, think about what the client's comfortable with, right? How specific will they want it? How creative will they want it? And remember that creativity and hallucination are the same thing in different contexts, right? So hallucination in a world where they want a very specific answer, creativity in a world where they don't need a specific answer. Typically, you'll have a better chance selling in areas where they don't need a specific answer all the time. We have an awesome course that Maria did on testing AI. And I always say AI is great at what computers are bad at, and computers are great at what AI is bad at, meaning computers can give you the same answer to the same question every single time. AI is not going to do that, right? So set the expectations when you're doing the sale. This will be able to handle lots of information, a lot of unstructured data, and give great answers. But it won't say, give the exact same answer every single time unless you really, really prompt it to, which you can, but that's not going to be the best use for AI. So when I talk to a business, I like to move them from a concept of AI as a tool to AI as a transformation. And what I find is the more you go up the pyramid, the more you can charge, right? So at the very bottom, what people think AI is for is efficiency. So I call this the co-pilotization of AI, which is they think AI is like Clippy, helping them write faster emails, which is fine. It can definitely do that, but that's not really that exciting, right? Getting 10% efficiency across your team, it's like, yeah, that in theory saves a lot of time and makes us a lot of money. But what I find is that a lot of people have 10% of their time free, right? They're just not efficient individually. And like getting someone to buy in for faster emails just isn't exciting, right? And so think about, how do we move it up? So I think the second level of AI value is quality. So our work is higher quality. We can get new employees to average. We can avoid spelling mistakes. We can write messages in the right tone. We can do research that'll help us improve. I think the third level then is revenue enhancement. How do we actually save money or unlock new lines of revenue that we wouldn't be otherwise? And fourth, and the hardest but also most powerful, is business transformation, meaning how do we rethink our org and think about AI as a teammate? So let's try to move from tool to teammate. Not everyone will be ready for that, but this is a really good aim, I think, as you're selling AIs, go up the pyramid. So I'll give you an example from a client that I've worked with that does like a large utility company. So we found ways for them to move up the pyramid. The basic efficiency was email composition automation. Second was document standardization. So when they did reports, it always looked the same. It didn't have errors. But we found some big revenue enhancements where they were paying consultants about $100,000 a year to go through a ton of contracts and create something. So by unlocking the ability for their team to do that, huge cost reduction. And then business transformation, they have a foundation nonprofits apply to. We're able to use AI to do those tasks and actually reorganize the organization. It was a 1 FTE role that was filled by 4 different people. So they're all doing a little bit and nobody owned it and it wasn't very efficient. So with AI, we were able to allow them not to have someone in that role, and instead it was automated. So that's kind of how you can think about transformation. And the way that I typically go in if you're going to do consulting is you want, again, that geyser to find those opportunities, right? You want to ask the people there, what are those opportunities, instead of coming in and telling them what you think the opportunities are. You probably have it in your mind, but first ask them so you get the buy-in. And the way that I think about this is ask these 3 questions about their current work. So literally going in and saying, the office manager, the marketing assistant, the financial person, like, what are you spending time on? Like, what's on your calendar, right? Secondly, what are you spending money on? So that might be consultants or tools that you're paying for. And then what are you not doing? Because it's either too hard or too expensive. If you ask those 3 questions, or encourage their managers to ask their employees those questions. You'll find ideas. And then what your job is as a consultant or agency is to vet those and figure out, could we build those, right? Some of them are going to be good, some are bad, some are easy, some are hard, and you can score them. I would do the same thing for potential work. And this is one where the managers might not always know, but you want to think about, what could AI enable that's entirely new, right? That we're not doing. Secondly, what information would change us if we had it first? Like, what's something, if we knew it, but our competitors didn't, would unlock some kind of advantage? And third, what kind of risks do you have that maybe AI could mitigate? So I find those first three questions are really good for employees, the day-to-day folks. And then these three questions are really good for managers or C-level suites who are thinking, about the business. And then what I would do is score those problems for them and then build the solutions. So essentially, someone gives an idea. How painful is it from minor to critical? How much impact could it have from increasing one person's productivity to strategic advantage for the company? How feasible is it from really complex, so we don't want to do it, to pretty easy to implement? And I would just score that 1 to 5, and that helps you kind of identify the best opportunities. So again, this example with a utility company, email management, it's slightly painful, pretty easy to implement. So maybe it's a level 2. Whereas, doing predictive grid maintenance, incredibly painful, incredibly impactful, and actually not that hard to implement, right? Like some custom tools. And what's interesting is often these tools down here are going to be a small number of people. There was a McKinsey report that came out. I should have had the slide here, but essentially you can think about training people in AI. The bottom left, it's easy to train new people on simple tasks. And it's actually fairly easy to train a few experienced people on complex tasks, because you don't have to train an entire team, right? So predictive grid maintenance, I could probably train like 2 or 3 people and we could build a solution. And as long as those 2 to 3 people change or update their workflows, we're going to have this massive impact. As opposed to email, which is like, it's probably not that hard to train people, but also it's hard to change 100 people's behavior, right? So think about, there's kind of a balance between easy tasks that a lot of people do and hard tasks that a few people do. And I think if you can get that hard task a few people do, you're doing like more impactful work, with fewer challenges. And also for you as a builder, you don't have to build as much, right? You build one awesome thing as opposed to dozens of things. So typically what I would do when I go into a business is think about building support for those kind of easy tasks for lots of people. So that'd be like training, governance, creating champions within a company, creating prompt libraries for them. And then as you move to the top right, thinking about auditing those opportunities with that kind of pyramid. And then once you know those opportunities, to build the solutions. And so I know we'll have some speakers who probably will speak to this a little bit more. Some of the things that people, have been building with Chipp that are quite common are things like proteges, FAQs, HR assistants. So I want to talk a little bit about how you can use Chipp kind of in this framework and to sell Chipp. So when you think about ways to sell with Chipp, I would think about it again as a 2x2. I like kind of framing things simply. So we have product on one side and service on the other. And you can think about selling something one time versus recurring, right? And you can think about what's best for you. If you're Rob or Bing, you probably want a recurring service client because that's your business. If you're someone like Maria, maybe you have other things you're doing, and selling a one-time build is great because you're doing other things. You want to build it and move on, right? So you can kind of think about the right place. So I'll show you the 4 buckets here, and then I'll show you on Chipp, like where you can do that, and then we'll kind of keep going. So easy way to get started is you can sell an app, right? So on Chipp, you can build a template that other people could download for a one-time fee. Now, this is not usually a high price, like we're seeing like $5 to $10, right? But it gets more valuable the more specific it is. So if you build something for veterinarians, or with our upcoming hackathon, you're able to integrate with other tools, people would be willing to pay to save them time, right? So when you sell an app, they get the prompt, they can get the integration, and they can immediately start with Chipp. So really easy way to kind of get started. Second is that you could sell access, right? So you could actually have your own platform on Chipp, and you could then pay for people to join your Chipp instance. You could do this through a workspace or through a white labeled Chipp instance. And you could think about this as maybe an agency where you're building the same, say, 5 apps for everybody, and you're giving each person a different workspace where they can access those. So that's more recurring because they're paying you every month, just like you're paying Chipp every month, and you can charge them, what you need to and build tools in there. If you're doing a one-time service, it might be building a custom app for a client. This is very common, and we get a lot of people asking for this. So I need you to build an integration with Smartsheet so that I can talk to my data, right? And maybe they just want you to build it and hand it off. So it's more like building software, right? And that might be a one-time. Or you might be more like Rob and actually service the client. So you're building custom apps. You have a platform they're using, but you're also helping with strategy or SEO or communications or grants, whatever it might be. So you, in essence, are bundling AI with your other services. What I've seen is like that top is going to be the highest ticket, right? And the bottom is lower ticket. Bottom left will be, not very high, $5, $10. Building a custom app, we're seeing that between 1 and 5,000, in terms of like a one-time charge. Selling access, people are charging anywhere from 100 to 500 per client. And then servicing clients, is all over depending on what you're doing, but very common to have that as like a recurring like $2,000 to $20,000 a month, depending on how much work you're doing. So that'd be kind of, rough ballparking where you're looking at. So let me show you kind of where those things live, just so you know. So if you're trying to sell a bot, like if I want, actually, I love this one. I was going to tell you guys, I started building chat log analyzers, and I'll put this up as a template, but literally just putting in the chat logs via Google Sheets. So I can go in here and connect Google Sheets to my previous chat logs, and then just asking, what are the most common questions people are asking in my app? And it's like spitting out everything. Super easy app. So I might say, hey, I want to sell that, because like probably all of Chipp users might want that. So I can click on share in Chipp, go to the bottom and publish to the marketplace. And then I can click quick setup. And then here I can choose if I want to offer this as a free template. Sometimes people will do this as lead gen. So you could offer templates, and in the template, it might have your name or it might talk about your business, right? Or you could set it up as a one-time payment, and you charge, $15, and you write a thank you message so they see that. So it might be like learn more at chipp.ai or learn more at maria.com or whatever. And then you publish that. It gets approved by us as if it's working and it's not duplicating something that already exists. Then it goes to the marketplace. And you've probably seen the marketplace before, but that will then live here. So people will be able to search for something like Analyzer, and it'll bring up, all the results. And then we're also working on bundles for different businesses. So that'll be someplace where if a lot of people are using it, we can put that in the bundle. So that's one way to get started. We also have, when we think about selling custom apps, we have industries that we've seen a lot of use. So you might see our use case pages, and we want to keep building this out. But if you have an industry you work in and you have like a bundle of apps you want to sell or want to get paid to sell, this would be an opportunity that we could talk about. So we have, for example, a legal bundle. So it's essentially our team plan plus another $100 a month. And with that, they get the pre-built legal apps, right? So in this case, it's like they're pre-built, but they also might just talk to that person and build them. So if an industry focus is of interest, you can reach out. Now, the third way you might sell is with that custom workspace. So this is white label Chipp, and you can see here it's somebody else's brand, and they can have unlimited workspace then. So if you have an enterprise plan on Chipp, you can have a white labeled instance and then resell that to your own customers or clients. So if you're a larger agency and you want to resell Chipp to lots of people and keep it in your brand, or you have a client that wants to use it maybe internally, this would be an opportunity, right? So you could sell a white labeled Chipp instance. That's what that looks like. So real quick example, this is an international food distribution organization. They wanted to allow their members to access research. So custom app, this would be like the bottom right, where a custom app was built, $5,000, trained on all of their knowledge. And what was interesting was it was built in, I would say like a soft paywall. So essentially you can ask questions like this, and it goes through, but it has a limit of 5 messages. And so here you can say you've reached the limit of 5 questions for the public version. For full access, sign up as a member, right? So what they're doing is trying to show people the benefit of being a member of this organization. And then as you can see, like I tried to break it, and it keeps driving them to that sign up. So this was all done just with the prompt, like literally saying only allow them to ask 5 questions and then say this. So that's something that you can do, as well as we have obviously the more forceful paywall of login or domains, and you can also set that up. So just wanted to show you that as an interesting example. So let's talk about how you might partner with Chipp and then go talk to a few partners so you can kind of see how they're doing it. So with Chipp, there's a lot of ways to join as a reseller. So first, anyone who's a builder can go sell a template, right? So you don't have to have any permission. You just go into that share tab and publish it. We'll approve it, and then it'll be live, and you can drive traffic there however you want. The second level that a lot of you have already done is becoming Chipp certified. So with Chipp certification, you actually take a course on the academy, and it's less than an hour, and you basically show us that you know how to use Chipp. So that's the way to learn how to use Chipp and to publish a chatbot. So I put the link in the chat, but if you go to Chipp and just click on Academy at the top, you can find that. Let's see if I click here, learn more in the Academy. And then in the material, you'll see a whole course just called Chipp certification. So I'll get that, pull it up, learning, and then we can go in here, Chipp agency certification. So you just complete this and you'll be able to get certified. Now, what's nice is when you're certified, you then get added to our agency matcher. So this is where people who are coming to Chipp's website will try to find an agency, and this is going to be based on whatever you submit, right? So if I know what I want and I can say like, looking for a chatbot or a car dealer, it'll then look through our database and find people who might be, interesting fits, and we can answer the questions. So you can learn more about joining there. And I was just going to scroll down. If you do fill out the documents, like we'll also add you here. So you can see that some of us have filled that out, and that'll kind of be based on the information you get. So a nice way to get some, shout out and a little bit of link juice as well. So that'd be kind of the Chipp partner level. Now, the third level is what we call Chipp sales partners. Chipp sales partners are people that we will then refer people to off of our landing pages. And the certified partners can get the affiliate link. So anyone who signs up with Chipp from your link, you'll get 30% of the pro or team plans. The sales partners, you can sell those white labeled, right? So if you want to sell those larger business plans, you have to be a sales partner, and you basically have to show us that you have sold a client and then do a phone call with me. And then the fourth is a technical partner. So a technical partner is someone who's building Chipp into their software. So if you are a software platform or you're trying to integrate Chipp, that's a pretty specific audience, but we have that as an option as well. So I kind of just talked through it, but if you want to be a builder, you can just publish templates. If you want to be certified, just take the course. If you want to be a Chipp sales partner, you need to have a service client and do a phone call with us. And then for selling that white label, you need to be enterprise and talk to us as well. We're working on this and trying to figure out the best, kind of contracts and everything. So we'd love your feedback. And we actually have a Chipp sales partner call on Tuesdays. So any of you who want to be that or think you should be that, you can just reach out and you can join us on Tuesday. We do that every month and basically give early access to features and things like that. So that's a little bit about selling Chipp and how you can sell Chipp, and happy to answer any questions now or later on that. But I really want to leave time to talk to some of our awesome guests. So I'm going to stop sharing here and introduce you to a few of our guests here today. So we'll start with Rob. Rob is from Chicago and runs, you can introduce yourself and your agency, but he's a great example, I think, of bundling Chipp into an existing kind of agency that has like a very clear value prop. So Rob, go ahead and take it away and share what you're working on.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, and nice to meet everybody. So I am Rob Welland. I'm the founder and I'm the CEO of a company based here in Chicago called Growth AI Partners. On that, what we do is we're really helping organizations get into AI to just help with scale, value creation, and to help them grow their business. So that's what we did. We started about a year ago, and it was really under the concept with the AI gold rush going on, where everybody wanted into AI. They wanted, Maria, they wanted Scott, they wanted Laura, right? And after like our 20th call, we're like, oh, let's buy an agency where we could help people do that. So that was our genesis. So we do a couple things. We feel we have some unique capabilities in the market. So our whole background, our whole team has very deep, multi-million-dollar sales, marketing, business development background, just industry background. So we've got a lot of expertise there. That's why we're called Growth AI Partners. We've been around a long time, like all of us. I think we have over 70 years. You can see the great beard. And so we've been through Y2K, we've been through social, we've been through client, we've been through science, right? So we can bring that broad perspective. And then I think the last thing is, I used to lead AI strategy at a big consulting firm. So in the last 24 months, we had that unique position of being there. So anyway, those are some of our unique capabilities. And so where we landed on what we do and how we integrate Chipp is we do two things. One is we're just helping people get into AI by doing AI strategy and governance work. We're helping them develop their go-to-market for AI products. But then the second thing is we're trying to solve a business problem on the sort of customer experience or the customer engagement side of things, right? So think of website lead, think of like, customer support, those kinds of things. So we do those things, right? We do the strategy and then we build a product, right? And we use Chipp to do that. Okay. And that's worked very well for us, right? And we're OG. We went the subscription route last year. People didn't want to do the subscription route. So in April this year, we're really just doing consulting projects like in helping people, like one off. And that has worked like really, really, really well. And the last thing I'll just say is how we get started is we offer this idea of an AI, we call it an AI test drive because we think everybody's kind of there. And what we do is we bundle it in with, we develop one product like a grant writer or whatever, something simple. We include some Chipp licenses in there so they can land, right, Scott? We talk about land a lot, right? So we can get in and then, but we also do the roadmap. We look for other areas of integration around that as well. So that's a little bit about who we are, what we do, how we do it. I think I had 5 minutes, so that's
Yeah,
it.
that is awesome. Well, we're gonna do
Question? Yeah, any questions?
yeah, we're gonna do Q&A after we introduce all the
Mm.
agencies so that we can do it together. I think one thing to know that Rob's taken us up on is with our Chipp sales partners, we do co-marketing. And so in about 2 weeks, Rob's doing a webinar and I'm joining as a guest. So any of you who are doing pitches or events or client calls, like we are here to jump on, right? So you don't have to do it alone. And I'm happy to do as many as I can. Also, we have this whole community right here, right? So thank you, Rob. We'll bring you back up in a moment. So let's go over to Bing, who is joining us from Houston and works in fascinating industries like education. And he's one of the OGs. He was at the original ChippCon last July and excited to have him share about his journey.
Well, howdy, everybody. Let me preface this. It's always a challenge following up Scott when I've seen a number of his presentations, and every time he iterates and gets more crisp and more professional. So I'm pretty soon he's going to become the Tony Robbins of the AI industry here pretty soon, which also similar to Rob probably predates myself. So little bit of context. I'm the founder, grunt, executor, marketing, sure, like all you guys, entrepreneurs who wear all hats for an agency. I've been around for a year under May AI Enable. That's coming 20 years off of traditional IT consulting. Rob, you and I, if I look through LinkedIn, probably cross paths across our consulting backgrounds. So I've done ERPs, I've done clouds, I've done CRMs, and AI now is the next wave. So the way that I would frame it up is a lot of the capabilities are changing from how you do things, but the what and why, from what I've seen, is again, regardless of the technologies that you're involved in, it's pretty much the same thing. So I work with a nonprofit that does kind of financial education. I work with a small publishing house that produces that content. And within that publishing house, they actually produce an online education platform. So from the capabilities, there's operational needs on how to improve your day-to-day operations. That's where we leverage Chipp to store SOPs. It's if you're a bootstrap organization, I think a lot of you guys work with nonprofits, they don't have a lot of capital. So you're looking for more efficient ways to do things like how do I onboard new volunteers, right? How do I recognize, how do I produce monthly communications? All of this goes back to outcomes. I should start off with this. At the end of the day, all your frameworks, and I love the visual that Scott comes up. Number one role of any agency consultancy is keep in mind the business outcome your client is trying to get to. And then how you get there could be the other quadrant, whether it's an app, whether it's consulting, whether it's using AI, right? The tools and the how is going to come up afterwards. But if you don't understand the problem that you're trying to solve or the outcome you're trying to get to, it doesn't matter what tool you use, and whether it's Chipp, ChatGPT, Claude, they're just throwing their money away. And that's the thing that kind of we approach as all these businesses that I talked with. Again, if we're a nonprofit, we're trying to raise membership, we're trying to find donors, right? Then I could find AI solutions to it. I also put this as a CRM. If those, like I would say, I've shown Scott a proof of concept that I've integrated Chipp within our CRM within Salesforce. And so this is like, you guys want to DM me, we'll swap how to do it. But a lot of companies you talk with will have Salesforce embedded. I actually think it's superior. What we can do in Chipp is superior than what Salesforce does within Agentforce. And it's about 70% cheaper. So like, and I told Scott, well, what I value from Chipp is the ability to integrate with existing client tech stacks, whether CRM, ERPs, or standalone. You could take Chipp and you can like integrate it to what you have rather than just start everything from scratch. Right. I'm kind of previewing if for the next Chipp conference, so you gotta bear with me. And then the third piece that is injecting AI into your existing products. Right. So if you're working with any form of service company or a product company, right, it's very similar to like, they're going to be asked by investors and going to be asked by other people, how do you inject AI into your existing service offerings? And Chipp, to me, again, like within a 48 hours, you could say, I could create like a Chipp capability nestled inside your existing. So from an online education platform with the different ways you could share Chipp, nice and easy that iframe or embed, like literally within our course, we created an online tutor for folks. So again, like my net advice is, how you sell is the traditional always think about the business problem you're trying to solve and deliver to your clients. And the second thing, the value proposition for Chipp. Chipp is one of the most robust AI capabilities that has the easiest onboarding. So you like literally like solving anything from small, medium business to enterprise. Chipp is the way to do it. And again, whether you want to create a proof of concept or enterprise wide, you could deliver pretty much guaranteed a Chipp-based solution within a day. So that's it. That's my intro.
I'm glad I recorded that. I'm going to reuse that line at the end. That's amazing. I love these ideas. Great questions coming in. One thing I will say is that both Rob and Bing will be speaking at ChippCon, which is in Fargo, July 21st and 22nd, as well as our next speaker, Maria. And if you are not already certified or have not sold, you can get trained at ChippCon. So we'll actually get you certified there. The other fun thing as a Chipp sales partner is not only do you get early access, but we also ask your feedback on things like pricing and bundles and contracts. And like, as you probably know, seeing our videos and seeing us online, like we're very approachable. So we want your feedback no matter what level you are. But I think those folks who have experience building and selling, like we really value your input. So definitely keep it coming and hope you can all join us in July in Fargo. It'll be a really good time. So I'd love to do is introduce our third agency and then take some of these questions. And so if you have questions, drop them in the chat. But let's have Maria come to the stage. She's often in the background making things work, but she's actually selling and building apps frequently and really interesting ones like supporting divorced women in Mexico to know their legal rights. So like fascinating stuff. So Maria, tell us a little bit about your business.
Yes. Hey, everyone. I love the questions that are coming up. And so we have a bit of a weird combination of things in our agency. So I have a service background, so service design background. So everything's really comes down to testing and like making sure that things actually work. I think the questions that our clients get a lot is like, why are you doing it? Like, what is the underlying reason for building this? I have to piggyback on being here. It doesn't, just because it's AI or just because you can build it with AI, doesn't mean that it needs to be AI and it doesn't need to be built. So the way that we kind of approach everything is to make sure that it works. It makes sense. You actually want to build it. It actually serves something. And then we work a lot with the people, the humans of the team. So a lot of the sessions we have are like 80% life coaching and 20% business stuff, depending on the situation and the questions. So it really, really depends. And my business partner is a lawyer. So that's a very different way to approach building with AI. So compliance, making sure that you're actually complying with the very regional and very different legal expectations that you might have in different areas and regions. So it's a mix of like making sense of both the compliance side and that your actual products make sense. So that's kind of like in shorts what we do. We build apps for people, but I would love to actually answer one of the questions in the chat from Michael, which is a question I've had for a while. Chipp is so easy to use. Do you have concerns as a consultant that once your clients see how simple it is, that they will not hire you and just do it themselves? That's literally our goal. In our agency, like we want you to use it yourself. We help you build it. We help you train, like we train you to build it. But the goal is, and I see Rob like nodding, like this is not about the old kind of consultancy. And we've had a lot of conversations about this with Scott. I don't think anyone here, even though we're called consultants, is here to kind of like sell these black box solutions that people are going to be tied to forever. Like the whole point of us using Chipp is because it's simple. We can build something that's really high value, and then people can actually start using it and take over it themselves. So thank you so much for that question. Maybe gives a nice bridge to the other
Yeah, I'd love to
questions
hear,
come in.
Rob, how you think about that, because some people you give access to, some people you build it for them, right? I think there's a spread. Like we've even been thinking about that as like maybe there's 2 tiers of users, like those who build and those who just can access. So how do you kind of think about it?
Yeah, I think for us, we went down the original path of like the AI as a service, right? And I'm just kind of like enabling it. And the challenge with that is that it is easy. So if I build a grant writer and Maria is better at it than me, right? Like, like there's no differentiation there, right? And so like our view on it is we're just trying to help people in AI, and we think Chipp's a good way to do that. And God, I like that idea of like having I come from a BI to data visualization background, like having that idea of like the pro or whatever the creator person you can create, and then having like a viewer kind of thing where you have shared workspaces. So we're just trying to help people, and what we're also doing is we're selling higher end value-added services, right? And I think that's the important part where we get value.
I think I saw this, I started as an agency in 2009. You think it's easy, and then you
Yeah.
talk to people, right? So like inevitably people will come back and either want you to manage it, like even just that chat log analyzer I showed you. We have some people who are just paying $100-200 a month just to have you essentially read that to them, right? Here's what people have been asking. Or, hey, now that we have this internal one-to-one or one-to-many, now let's do external one-to-one, external one-to-many.
I'm fine with
Yeah, go ahead.
Maria, I don't know if you see this or if you guys see it, but like people just need you there to guide them and help them, right? That's really the big need right now. So we'd really emphasize the strategy, the governance, how to create a product that they can put into their workflow. Like, and that's higher ed services that people need. And that I think to all of us, they kind of, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's just part of that and helps enable them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more to what you're saying, Rob and Maria. I mean, again, I would say, IT industry has changed. In 20 years selling tools that the value was that no one could understand what was going on. So AI is democratizing solution sets, and it's really identifying what value you add, right? It's not that you can look up literally have someone graduate in college and look at Computation United, develop something and code it and charge you like $5,000 for that, right? It is what the value you're going to bring is, hey, there's different ways to solve a problem. This is just a tool. The way this tool fits with whatever you're trying to do broadly as a business, like it's a nice fit. And again, like I agree with Maria, you want to teach them to enable themselves because more than likely, like this is just going to be a tip of the iceberg of the problems most businesses encounter. So you want to free up both your client and your brain space so you can work on the bigger stuff. Especially as an agency, generally you're not going to come in and solve their most urgent. As a small bootstrap yourself, you're probably going to be given a little tiny chunk, just like you need a buyer to prove yourself. So do that one thing really great first, and then you'll work your way up the value chain.
Yeah. And there was a question, Rob, about what value-added services, you offer, have found best valuable. And then I would love Bing after that, if you want to talk about applying for RFPs. I think that's interesting that not a lot of people have backgrounds in.
Yeah, our value-added services, we're growth AI partners. So again, we're on the growth side. We're not the risk and compliance people. So all of our services are growth. So we offer a suite of AI strategy and governance services. So like we're, helping people do business alignment and, like what Scott showed, do the prioritizing for you. We're helping them do kind of people readiness and AI literacy assessments on that. So that's a big deal for a lot of people. We have a whole like survey we do and we get a score, kind of cool. We help people kind of develop their AI go to market, right? Because people want to go, they want to create their own product. We do that. And then it's really just some like OG kind of AI and data governance. We help them, tell them who they need, what they need to support it. So a lot of those, and then we give them a roadmap, right, to kind of do all these things, and then we stay on and help them, right? So it's again all around growth. It's all around helping them, right? And Chipp's part of
Yeah.
it. It's like we land with one agent, but then we want to expand to other areas, right? Yeah, sorry.
And I was going to pull up Danella before I go to Bing. So Danella, I love what you do very much in that bundled like service and product in the education. So maybe tell us a little bit about kind of your work and then I think how you think about charging for it, because you're working with like, schools that don't have money, but also you have a lot of time that you're putting into it. So how do you actually make money?
It started the way I think being where Rob described of I provide services for schools to solve complex problems, right? And what I'm really trying to do is grow that leadership pipeline. I'm a believer of lead from the middle. Hierarchies need to go away. We need to huddle at the school level and we come up with inquiry questions. And so the use case started with me creating for them. They're working on PBL. They just had this big training, but when they walk away, they don't know how to differentiate for kindergartners. How do I add more math into my PBL units? And so I was creating the bots for them for the site leadership team. They would develop the idea and I would create. It's turned into now, based on their inquiry question, we can move so much faster and then they build it. It's that building that collective expertise amongst the teachers and the principal and the coaches with, okay, what documents do we want in here? Give me your PBL rubrics. Give me the template of how do you create a PBL unit? And their minds are just blown. And so now they at their fingertips, I show them how to put it on their phone as an app. Like once they create it, it's at their fingertips. I really truly believe for education, the phone has to be the bottom rung, right? Because in some places I help in Nigeria and they don't have laptops. The phone is all they've got. And so it's kind of been an add-on to service, but now I'm kind of in the stage of creating at the next level for districts. Like imagine being a brand new superintendent. We upload your LCAP. We upload the rubrics that we use at Innovate Ed of creating change, and so now at the superintendent's fingertips, they can say, based on our LCAP goals, based on our inquiry of helping English learners or kids of poverty, come up with 3 questions that I need to ask to my board, right? And so they literally have a coach in their pocket. And so that's how we've been now moving it towards selling more like a template and then customizing it for them based on their LCAP goals or specific challenges.
That's awesome. Well, and Steed, can I bring you in? You could tell people where you're calling in from and maybe your video froze there, but yeah, there you are, Steed. Are you able to tell us what you do, Steed? Because I know you have some experience probably on the phone making it work for tech.
Yeah, Mrs. Scott. Hi, everybody. I have a question. I have a meeting with the director of our British school here in Lome, and I would like to know how should I do the pricing for an international school? Do you have any suggestion that I should be based on?
Yeah, Danella, do you have any thoughts or Rob? I mean, how do you think about approaching that?
I have a couple of solutions like AI tutor and a solution for the administration and the teachers. So I will work on it a bit and present it as a presentation and ask them and show them what they are thinking and let them use it for free.
Yeah.
And see what we can basically do. So my preoccupation is about the pricing, as it's the first time I don't know how to structure it. So I will need some help. Thank you.
Yeah, don't do it for free. I think we have another high school here in Chicago, and their need was like around a parent and a student. It's basically a chatbot they're going to put in their website, like answer. They have like a list of 50 questions, and we're just landing with a one pro license to put in their website. It's like what we're doing, and that's all it's for. But we have a roadmap in there to look at other use cases, and their teachers already want to use it for like grading, like put a rubric in and grade it. So then we would expand Chipp to probably team more collaboration licenses, right? So we're just trying to get in the door, like they're so new to it. We're like, just do one thing. Let's get a win. Let's get everybody excited and hyped up. And then we're doing the services. So we're integrating it into our website. We're working with their IT, right? So that's one way we did it. I don't know if that helps.
No, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, I think
And we're using the students too. Like we're working with their students. So it's like a learning thing for them. And they're on the north side of Chicago. And, so that was a big deal. We're doing their boot camp this summer. That was all part of the value.
yeah, and I would lean into the power of AI, which is you can give them a very functional tool really quickly, like for the meetings, right? That builds a lot of trust, and not that you have to give it to them for free, but more that it's going to stand out from every other tool they're thinking about. And, we're kind of looking at, go ahead, Danelle, you have better insight.
Oh, I was just going to say, Steve, I would also hook on to what Bing said. What I did find is you have to help them clearly define the question they're trying to answer. Because what we have to be careful of is just not recreating. Like, I am not a fan of, hey, Danelle, can you help me create more math worksheets? No, I can't do that. That's not going to be helpful. And so helping them really craft what question they're trying to answer, what problem they're trying to solve, really gives the AI relevance. And like Scott said, when you can do it in a quick turnaround, they're just like, oh my gosh, imagine what's possible if we spend a half a day together. And then that's how I bill is now, let me come spend a half a day with you at this cost, and I'll help you build whatever you want. But they come with their questions and their problems of practice that they want to solve.
Now right on. And like that pyramid, Scott, it showed the basic automation, like that's like they're at 4, right? And it's like they want 1, but where they're at is 4. So let's just start there and then we'll build it up to it, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, amazing conversation. And what's great is you guys all have access to one another. In the academy, you can send messages as well as on Discord. So whichever platform you use, we're active on both. We know some people don't like Discord, so we want to have the academy as an option. And we're really excited to launch our hackathon starting today. So I want to give just a few minutes to make sure to tell you about that. We had some questions in the chat about integrating Chipp with MindStudio or N8N or HubSpot or others. This is all now possible with the Chipp API. So I don't know, Maria, if you want to give a super fast overview. She's been vibe coding, building tools with Chipp, and really pushing the limits. And we're really excited to show you what's possible in the coming days and to have you submit an entry for the hackathon. So yeah, go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, so I would just encourage everyone and anyone to build something in the next week and just submit. There's a page, I think, we shared the Substack post. We made like a really tiny tutorial with Replit. So it doesn't matter if you're a coder or not, you don't need to actually know development. If you're interested in building something a bit different, you can do it with Replit, for example. So you can vibe code and shape into the apps that you're building. There's one tutorial, then there's another tutorial by Hunter that's a bit more devy, a bit more on the back end. But anything that you might build in the next week, please just submit. Just send it over to us so we can see and we can actually give these tutorials to others. So Bing, you mentioned something that you built. Obviously want to see that. Just sharing like all of the things that we're building, especially related to the API. Because exactly like, I don't remember who it was who said like, there are so many options. Yeah, Tara, API opens up everything, right? So everything is possible now.
And this is where you'll find it. So when you build an app under Share, you'll have a section here called Share via API. So you can get your API key here. And this gives an example of what a curl request is. So this will essentially tell you, what you might need. So that can be put into a tool like Bolt or Lovable. The other way that you can do it is actually to connect out via capabilities. So here we can go in here. For example, I might put in Zapier, right? And I could actually then I could post my Chipp content to my Zapier webhook, which would go here. And we now have the ability to add a curl command. It'll do it for you, right? So this is all a little bit technical, which is why we're having an event on Tuesday that I think would be perfect for anyone who doesn't, like I joked online, anyone who's more familiar with an IPA than an API. You're more familiar having a beer than building an API. This is for you. So we will have an event on Tuesday, which is APIs for non-coders. So if that's you, we already have a lot of people signed up, looks like. This will be where we actually walk through every single piece of what those things are and how to get them. So this will be a really fun way to expand the power of Chipp. And what I kind of am saying is like, move it from a chat to an agent, because this is where information is now flowing. And when you think about selling Chipp and selling AI, this is a lot more easy to sell, right? Because this is where you're doing stuff, like to Michael's point, that isn't as easy, right? So if they want to change the API connection, not every organization is going to be able to do that. And maybe that justifies a $500 a month service fee just to keep it up and make it work, right? So whether it's Salesforce or Canva, we're looking at with Bing, I'm going to be doing it with Limitless, so I can track everything that's set around me. So anything with an API, which is most everything, can now be integrated. And technically, just so you know, it conforms now to the OpenAI API standard. So anything that has been or integrated with OpenAI can also be integrated with Chipp as a quick hack. So we're really excited to have that, because I think selling Chipp gets more powerful when you have these connection points. And that's how we move up that pyramid from just, I have a chatbot that talks to my customers on my website, which is great, to now I can have my students create homework that gets sent into the LMS. And that's now a transformation where we're selling like a robust solution. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. We'll cut this up into short videos. So if you need to go back, you can watch it. And I know that Bing and Rob and Maria are all very accessible and willing to chat. Danella as well, probably Steed as well, and Michael as well. So if you want to reach out to anyone here, I'd say a lot of brain power about getting your agency going, about growing your business, collaborating if there's pieces your agency is not good at. And please reach out to me if you want to become a Chipp service partner. We'll have a call next week for those folks. A lot of you might already have an app, and I know that, and you just haven't talked to me, so we'll get you on the list. And then you'll see on that academy the Chipp certified partners. That's the really quick one to get started and get on our kind of database. So thank you guys. This was so fun. We'll be hanging out here next week with the API for non-coders, and hopefully be welcoming all of you to Fargo July 21st and 22nd. So let me know if you're coming. Great to see you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.